Alright, so we're gonna start with Dorado, since that's the map you guys always tell me you have trouble with.
Dorado. I've I don't think I've thought about anything more in the past 3 days than Dorado second point. Like I've been sitting at work, like in downtime, just like
Okay, well, we're gonna start with where the defenders should be holding on first point and look at how to attack that, and then we'll look at how to attack the second point and where defenders should be holding there. So, in Silver, you see a lot of teams set up like right outside the enemy spawn, like right here. You don't want to do that, that's dumb.
yeah.
I think you guys already know about spawn advantage, I don't have to go through it with you. If you're running a death ball comp, the correct spot to hold is right here where I'm standing. So this way you can use the corner to line of sight them. You know, you're not right up in their spawn, so they don't have as much of a spawn advantage. This is reasonable for a defending team. You hold up here and poke at them and build your ult until they get the payload right about here to this corner. And then your entire team rotates around here and drops out this back window. So your Rhine goes first, you guys drop down behind the Rhine, and you hold the payload right here. At this point, you use this corner to protect yourselves, and you force them back. Now, if the defending team is running a dive comp, they can hold with the Winston Diva up here, and the damage dealers on that high ground. And they're doing a little bit more of a like spawn camping type thing that way. It seems like they're kind of close to the attacking spawn, but they have this corner here again to line of sight them and provide cover. So it doesn't like they're not going to get punished for it. And then if you start taking damage, you're getting into trouble while you're defending up here as a dive comp. You dash back here, or jump, or fly, or whatever your ability is. Mercy can fly over here once someone else gets over here. The thing then is to pay attention to how much damage your teammates are taking, and if they're falling back, the whole team needs to fall back. And then again, same thing, as the payload gets to this corner, the defending team should be falling back down here and holding around the corner. Once the payload gets over here, you can use this thing to line of sight people. You can use this structure in the middle of the map to line of sight people. Sometimes Soldier's on defense. This is a good spot for Soldier to hold when defending. He can use the wall for cover, and he has height advantage, so it's easier to click heads. Sometimes you get Widow up here. Then it's difficult to contest this if you have like Rhine Zarya or something without mobility, which is why Winston Diva is preferred on this map.
Yeah.
Yeah. On third point, Rhine Zarya sometimes becomes better, just depending on what team comp is being run by the opposing team. But first and second point, Winston Diva is almost always better for both attack and defense.
Yeah, something I noticed, and I'm now that we're probably moving into the second point. Something I'd thought about, I actually think Sarah Dated brought it up, is one of the things we failed to do was after taking first point, we should have pressed the advantage and took high ground for ourselves.
Yes. That's exactly right. You guys, you want to leave your off healer to push the payload once everyone's been cleared off it and there's no danger. You leave your off healer on the payload. The other 5 members of your team push up and you occupy the space where the defending team would next like to hold. So on Dorado's second point, that would be up here. They want to get set up here. If you guys have the manpower to prevent them from doing that, you want to. Then if you get into trouble holding up here, you drop back down on the point, get healing, and recontest.
Yeah, and I think last night's scrim, we were running Rhine Zarya, which means that we couldn't take control of that high ground. Like we didn't have
that's
an
correct.
option to take control of.
There was always just the soldier up there by himself, just standing right here, free firing on you, killing your back line, and you guys didn't have the comp to do anything about it.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't pick on you for team comps last night because you were working with 2 subs and the other team had 2 Smurfs,
Yeah.
so...
Yeah, I didn't want to press and go like, all right, what can everyone else run? Let's try to figure something out.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. So, but
I shouldn't have set up that scrim, really. Both teams were like half subs at that point. It's just Hanahula wanted to play against his friend. So I set a scrim on a schedule that basically worked for no one on our team or their team so that Hanahula could play against Matt. And that was probably not in the best interest of either team. But they both really wanted me to do it, and just because my friend is the coach of Team 30, sometimes if I have nothing better to do, I go help him with coaching, so I've worked with Matt a lot. I feel bad for Matt, because he's the only one on that team who actually wants to improve and get better. The rest of them just fuck around all the time.
Really?
Yeah. But yes, that's exactly what you want to do. Once you've taken the first point there, you leave your Lucio or your Zen on cart, your dive comp pushes up and controls this high ground. Enemy team should come through from there. That's basically like a choke. You force them to stay in there so that you can get the payload as far as possible before they actually get a chance to contest it. And like, I've gone over this, but I'm just gonna reiterate it one more time. You do not need to keep 3 on the payload. When you're not keeping 3 on the payload, though, when you've moved up to the next ranked meta, and you know how to run this comp where 1 stays on the payload and the other 5 push up, you do need to pay attention for if your off-healer on the payload is calling out that there's a flanker on them. Because if he gets into trouble, you need to fall back and help him immediately. Or someone does. You don't necessarily need to send your entire team back. That's going to be a situational thing depending on who has numbers advantage. If the other team has numbers advantage, then just your entire team fall back to the payload. If you guys have numbers advantage, then just send the D.Va back to help him get the flanker off him. You also have to be aware of, like, Widow setting up over there while you're taking this high ground. That's a thing that'll happen. I mean, it's pretty easy to contest if there's just a lone Widow or Hanzo hanging out back here, but if you're not aware of it, then they click heads and you die. Then on this third point, this is, like, the first and second points are pretty good for Pharah. Third point really is not good for Pharah because it's enclosed, there's no aerial cover in here. It favors hit scans over Pharah, with the way that the map layout is in here.
Yeah. And,
like, if the enemy team, if they have, like, a soldier or a Widow who's contesting this high ground, then you want to stay on dive so that you can keep diving that target who's alone up here. Or if it's just, like, if your entire team can contest high ground minus a Zen or whatever, and there's even a soldier and a Mercy up here, that's still your entire team versus 2 of theirs. So you want to dive so that you can maintain that numbers advantage. But at this point, if they're running an immobile comp, like if they're running a McCree who's standing on the ground, if they're running a Junkrat, like especially if they're running a Junkrat and he keeps just standing on the ground here, and they're just holding around this corner and not trying to contest the high ground at all, and you're having difficulty getting through their spam, that's when you'd switch to Rein Zarya, because Zarya is really good against spam, and the Rein shield protects your backline. So basically, if the other team is doing their job properly and holding this high ground, you want to stay on dive. If the other team is idiots and they're holding down here, Deathball might work better. I just like the Winston shenanigans that you can do on this map too. Like, you can, if you're on point here, if the payload's almost to the checkpoint and then there's a D.Va bomb going off or something and you need to get away, you can jump over this wall, go down here. They can't really run around and chase you over here easily to do anything about you. And then as soon as it's gone, you just jump back. Continue zapping everybody to death. As Genji too, you can climb back and forth over this wall. I wish I had been here for the ledge dashing. That was before I had the game.
Oh, dude, that was a cool time. I couldn't do it because I couldn't figure it out, but I knew of it, so I tried it. I still couldn't do it, but it was cool.
Yeah, the first season that I played comp was Season 5. I had the game at the very end of Season 4, but I didn't get it to level 25 in time to play comp Season 4. So, yeah, I wish I had been here for the ledge dashing. Everyone's told me about it. And also, as the payload is approaching its destination, you want to push in here as a team and stuff their spawn doors so that they can't get out to contest. That's especially important on 2CP, but it's important on all maps, including this one. Okay, so do you guys have any more questions about Dorado? Is there anything I didn't cover? Anything you can think of that you had trouble with, other than, like, the Sombra?
Yeah, I mean, Sombra's a whole nother ball of wax. It's more than a map. But, yeah, I think we need to, focus on getting control of that high ground before they can. And also, if they have it, it's not a good idea to try to contest. Like, just, like, don't try to kill them up there. Like, I felt like we were trying to win the fight on the high ground. And the problem is that when you have to jump up to high ground, you're at the disadvantage already. You're fighting from a disadvantage. And then you add in, you know, things like Sombra, it's making it's not a fight we're going to win. So I think we need to just force them to fight us on the payload by just riding the payload. Sooner or later, kind of similarly to on Gibraltar, sooner or later, they have to come down from the high ground. They can't stay up there.
Yep,
you know?
exactly. So what you do is, your Lucio or your Zen stays on payload, the rest of you jump up onto high ground, and then at that point, either they're occupied fighting you up there, and they're ignoring the payload, or they have to drop down to contest the payload, and at that point you need to drop down too before they kill your off support.
Yeah, basically we should focus on where do they have the least numbers.
Yeah, and just focus on one target that's on high ground. Like when you dive high ground, your goal shouldn't be, you know, wipe their entire team up there. You should have picked out one target that's a 200 HP hero that you want to kill before you recontest on low ground or back off to payload. So
or even just like get that character off of high ground. You know, if we can just get this Zen to fall off high ground,
and then you chase him down, it's a free kill.
Like take that, back out, get back on the payload, heal up, push.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Like sometimes it is just about not necessarily like starting a team fight and winning the team fight. Sometimes it's just about taking up space.
Yep. Exactly. That's exactly what creating space is. That's the job of the tanks.
So I think we just need to. Yeah, just
the thing that Sombra as a character capitalizes on lack of team coordination. Sombra does not counter any particular character. She does not counter any particular type of team comp. Although Sombra does a lot more work against immobile comps because they can't do anything to react to the fact that Sombra is there. So with an immobile comp, you have to be a lot more coordinated to deal with a Sombra because, like, if you're a death ball, you have to play close together. That's how that comp is run. That's how it works. And that also means that you're always going to be conveniently grouped up for EMP. If that Rhine shield goes down, that's a lot of what your comp is built on, so you're basically fucked. So all Sombra has to do is hack the Rhine, which means if you're running a comp that depends on a Rhine, you have to be ready all the time to react to that Sombra being there trying to hack the Rhine. So it's a lot less forgiving to run a Sombra with a Death Ball, which is why Dive is better against her. Also because Dive has the mobility to keep up with Sombra, and because if the enemy team is running Sombra, that means they have less damage output, so all you need to do is focus down their other DPS, and if you can kill that person, you win. You win the team fight, because you have more damage output than they do. But the thing is, if you're running a dive, and you're all making mistakes, like anyone can make a mistake. When I watched you guys run that dive, it was a different person making a mistake every time. It was never the same person overextending over and over and over again. It was like everyone at some point talked over Monkey while he was trying to call out the target. Everyone at some point overextended or was otherwise out of position. Everyone at some point didn't push in. Everyone at some point didn't reset. It was never one person making all the mistakes. It was always one little thing from a different person each push that screwed you guys over and let the Sombra capitalize. So, the only thing that really fixes that is practicing together as a team more, and understanding what went wrong, which is what we're doing right now. I saw you guys get off 2 good dives, and each time that you did, you got EMP'd, and that's just unlucky.
Yeah. I also think we have to respect ults like that. Like if she EMPs, just back out.
Yep. Don't try to win the fight while you guys are all EMP'd.
Yeah, just back out.
Yeah, at that point, just die or get out. Reset. You guys took way too long on Dorado. And in general, the past couple scrims you've done, you took way too long to reset. Like, every time, someone would call for a reset at the right time, and then one or the other of the DPS or the off-tank or somebody would be in there just trying to finish up a kill and staggering themselves. And again, it was never one specific person. Everybody did it at least once. So, it's like, you guys know when you should reset. You want to finish up that one kill, and I get that. As Genji, I want to finish off that 1 HP target before I back out, too. And it's a mistake when I make it, it's a mistake when you guys make it. Rex does that sometimes, and it's a mistake. You also just need to work on being more aware of when there's a flanker behind you. Like, I see you guys a lot of times have difficulty dealing with a Sombra behind you, a Genji behind you. I don't remember which scrim or match it was, but at one point there was a flanking McCree that was always behind you when you guys were having a hard time with it. Like, that's just awareness.
Yeah. Tunnel vision is a problem of everybody at our rank.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a problem of me, too. It's a problem of everybody in general, but the biggest difference that you'd see between a bronze player and a plat player, and then between a plat player and a GM player, the biggest difference you'd see is based in awareness. Like, once you know how to look for those differences, the most obvious thing is always mechanical skill, but even though it's the most obvious, it's not the biggest difference. The biggest difference is awareness. Let's look at Route 66 now. I know you guys aren't incredibly comfortable on that map either.
Yeah, we haven't played it a whole ton.
Well, I'm planning to have you guys play it on the scrim tomorrow, so...
Cool. Actually, Route 66.
So Fury is going to be overseeing the scrim tomorrow, because my team has a scrim at the exact same time that your team does. So I can't be there. But he's gonna tell me all about it later. Also, if you guys really, if you have some kind of serious problem, if the other team is causing a problem, or if their coach is causing a problem, or anything comes up, you can't get a sub, anything, just let me know. I will come and help.
Alright.
Okay, so, on Route 66, for the defending team to hold first point. If they're running a shield comp with a Rhino or an Orisa as the main tank, this is the correct place to hold. This is always the correct place for supports to hold, regardless of team comp, and there will usually be a DPS up here too. Like, a soldier will be up here, a McCree will be up here. They can use this signpost to line of sight, so that if they're taking damage, they can get behind here, wait to be healed up, then go poke at the payload again as it comes around the corner. If they're running a Winston D.Va, like if they're running defensive dive, usually the tanks will hold right here. Winston positions himself to start with here, and then as the payload approaches this corner, he comes forward a little bit, zaps everybody, gets some damage in early to get some ult charge, and then when they look up and start shooting the Winston and he's taking a lot of damage, he jumps back over here to get heals.
Oh yeah, you can also play a Zen all the way back here if you're doing dive.
Yeah, I've been doing that a lot more lately when I'm solo queuing and stuff. Setting up way back there.
Because it takes them a lot of effort to get to you.
Yep. Then the trick with this map is, when you're defending, you need to drop down onto the payload as a team. And it's not always easy to do that for new teams, and a lot of times you'll see teams make the mistake where, like, you say, okay, we need to contest the payload now, and half of them drop off this way and end up over here, and then the other half drop off this way and end up over here, and the next thing you know, your team is split up, and the enemy team has their choice of who they'd like to pick off. So, when you're dropping down to contest the payload, you have to have an idea of where you want to drop down, and you have to make sure that everyone on your team knows it before they actually need to drop. Usually, the payload will get to, like, right here, and you come down here and drop off this way and contest it here at this corner. You kill whoever's on the payload, and then you hold around this corner or retake the high ground. This map is really strong for Widow on the first point here. If neither team has a competent Widow, it's really strong for Pharah because of the long open sight lines. It also has flank routes, so it's good for Genji and Tracer in general. Dive is very strong, both attack and defense on the first 2 points of this map. Things get more difficult when you get to that enclosed third point at the end. So, falling back to second point here, the correct place to hold on defense is around this corner. Guys, noticing a theme, when you're defending, you always want to be around a corner, and the reason for that is if you're taking heavy damage and you need a chance to back up and get heals before you engage again, you want to be able to back up around the corner and avoid heavy damage long enough for your healer to get you back to full health.
Be right back. I'm out of here.
Yeah, you have a Rhine shield, but sometimes he needs to back up and recharge his shield, so that's why you always hold around corners when you're running a Rhine comp.
Yeah, this is definitely a point where I can genuinely say, I don't think anybody at our rank, especially, knows where to hold this. Like, everybody always kind of scrambles and like sits where they, I don't know, where they fit best.
That's why Genji is so strong on this map for me, because I can just go and pick people off and they don't know what they're doing, they can't deal with me, someone's calling, there's a Genji, and by the time they call out my location, I just dashed somewhere else.
Like, what Genji?
Yeah, and then by that time I'm up here. And nobody knows I'm up here.
I just realized something.
Yeah?
There's only 2 health pack points on this part of the map.
There's the mega pack in there that you've already hacked, and then there's the one in here, which is you've also already hacked.
And then that's it.
Beacon in place.
There's a health pack in here that you can fall back to if you're on defense and you need it.
Yeah, but that's like...
Yeah, it's technically the third point, it is, but just noting that it's available for use.
And it's a mini too, which kind of puts a damper on it. Like, you'll get some value out of it, but not a ton.
I need this.
With a Winston Diva, you want to hold somewhere on this high ground. Now, exactly where kind of depends on what the other team is doing. Usually I start right here as Winston. If I'm taking a lot of damage, I fall back here behind this sign. People push through here sometimes, and then you can spam into there and kill them as they get forced through that little kind of a choke point. If you're taking a lot of damage as Winston, like if you're pushed up here and you're zapping as they come around the bend here, you can jump up here, and it's difficult for the attacking team to get up here. So then your Mercy can fly to you, Moira can toss an orb up. Generally, it's better to run Mercy Zenyatta as your supports if you're running Dive, but Moira Lucio is viable. Just with Moira Lucio, it's more difficult to contest high ground, so you have to be a lot more coordinated. Mercy's kind of more forgiving with the coordination in that regard, but it's also more difficult for Mercy to stay alive, so then you have to pay attention to, is your Mercy in trouble? So it's kind of a trade-off there. It's like, is your Mercy good at staying alive, or are your tanks good at not taking a lot of unnecessary damage? Which one's better at what? And if they start pushing the payload all the way across here, you fall back, hold here. You can hold right outside the door if you need to. I'm sure you've been in those games where you're holding right here and you manage to get everyone off the payload in overtime and keep it from getting the third checkpoint when you're like literally right at the third checkpoint. Happens to everyone.
Yeah, the killer about this is really like this high tunnel is the only area you're going to come out of realistically.
Yeah.
Because it takes too long to come down to the lower tunnel, unless you're somebody quick, like maybe Lucio or 76, Genji, Tracer. But the tanks, like they have to come through there.
Okay, so then, moving on to the third point. Can you guess where you want to hold if you're the defending team? Around this corner! And Winston Diva will be on high ground, up here or up here. Getting damage in from there. Winston zapping everybody down here.
Hello.
Who is this guy?
That's someone that I said I'd boost in comp later.
Oh.
Oh, sniper.
Let me message him.
¿Qué onda?
And then this indoor map is where it gets more difficult to attack. Because, like, Pharah becomes useless, it becomes more difficult to flank because it's more enclosed. It's more, well, it's not more difficult to flank. Flanking's actually pretty easy, but it's more difficult for your tanks to create a distraction for a sustained amount of time.
Oh my god, these freaking platforms. Why do they exist? Wait, what? How did I get... What? Hello, what?
Oh, the platforms?
No, like, okay, so check this out. I used my translocator, right? It hit one of the platforms and went on the ground, like over here.
Oh.
But when I actually used it, it put me all the way up there. I don't get that.
Translocating.
I'm assuming it like decent.
No one can hide from my sight.
You know, Pharahs, when they're ulting, they have to watch out for these platforms, because if it comes in front of them as they're ulting, they get killed. Yep. Also, Torbs like to put their turrets on these, and it's really irritating.
I don't know why they have rotating platforms in this game. It's kind of stupid.
Well, McCree can stand on these and ult, Bastion can use them, flankers can use them.
Yeah, you can use them, but other than, like, you know, having floating platforms that rotate, there is very little use for them. And they just add a little bit more extra RNG. Because as you just saw, I've thrown my translocator up there like 2 times, and they've both gone down there down to the floor because of the platforms.
Beacon in place.
What?
So, on defense on this map, Junkrat is a strong character because it's an enclosed space. You know, the spam balls are gonna bounce around everywhere and get a lot of damage in. Then you want, like, a hit scan to clean up weakened targets. You can do that with Genji if you're good at Genji. And then also, if you're on attack and you're having difficulty breaking through their front line, Junkrat also isn't a bad idea because of the shield break.
Who? Sorry?
Oh, Junkrat. Junkrat is strong on this point in this map for both defense and attack in general. Because on defense, you know, that spam is going everywhere, it's an enclosed space, it's difficult to avoid. And then on attack, Junkrat breaks the defending team's shield. I mean, dive still works in here. On defense, I'd say Deathball is stronger than dive. Just because of the enclosure, there's not much room for defensive dive to work with. On attack, if you're attacking third point, you just have to be coordinated. You have to avoid whatever spam they're running. Junkrat, if they have Reaper, you have to avoid Reaper. Oh, that's another thing I was going to talk to you guys about. When you see that the team you're playing against is running a Reaper, the DPS's first priority needs to be to focus that Reaper down and take him out. Because otherwise the tanks aren't going to be able to create any space for you. Because they're going to get shot in the face and they're going to be dead.
Reaper also, by nature of him, he has to put himself in a bad position. So
Yeah, exactly.
Catch the Reaper early.
What Reaper wants to do is get up close to your tanks and shoot them in the face, and he wants to stay out of line of sight of your DPS while he's doing that, because Reaper counters tanks and he is countered by DPS. So, you have to think about where would he go, that he can shoot tanks in the face, that he can duck behind cover, like around these corners. Reaper's flanking here all the time.
I am repaired.
And you want to deny him access to that space so that he can't do his job, and so that you can kill him. And that way your tanks can stay alive. Which means you can win.
Ooh. Darn.
Any other maps that you guys are having particular difficulty with?
Hey,
I know these are the two that come up a lot that everyone keeps saying they're uncomfortable with.
I think this one, because we just haven't, in a scrim, we haven't played it. I'm sure we've all played it all the time. But, like, in an actual, like, team environment, we haven't been able to play this one yet. And Dorado was just giving us headaches, giving us fit.
Well, I mean, that's understandable. You guys are new to running dive. You guys are new to working as a team. And honestly, you have been doing really well for how new to being a team you are, and for your rank. I think so, and Fury also thinks so.
Hack the planet. Mess with the best and die like the rest.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we've done... I know we didn't play great on Oasis. Was that last night? No, it was the night before. We didn't play great on Oasis, but I don't think that was anything map.
No,
We knew what we did wrong.
Yeah. Just couldn't fix it in the moment, but you know what you did wrong.
Yeah, I mean, King of the Hill requires just like quick thinking. All right, what are they doing? Attack that.
Yeah.
Not really. The maps also aren't nearly as. They're usually not very complex. So.
Let's look at Anubis just because we're here.
Anubis is an interesting one. I feel like Anubis has a lot of different strategies.
Yeah.
Now, and
Like, for example, you can switch to Reaper on the second point attack.
身を捨てても妙理
I'm
は捨
pretty
て
sure
ず
there will be a lot of teams that won't mind doing that.
Okay, so Anubis is interesting. One second, let me message Carrie.
Oh, that's some weird geometry. Okay, that is some weird geometry.
Okay, so defensive dive is strong on this map. One thing that a team that I scrim against regularly, one thing they've done is they had a soldier and a Zen standing up here, like on this bridge. And we thought, hey, there's a soldier and a Zen there. We're all gonna dive the soldier and the Zen, and they're gonna die, and everything will be perfect. The other team had a Winston and a Diva. The Winston was standing right up here. The Diva was on this one right here. As soon as my team dived in and went for that soldier and Zen, their Winston and Diva dived on our Zen, who was right here. And then came up here and split us up. And so, like, we were getting baited into diving these targets that were actually well protected. So that takes a lot of coordination to run, because if you have two people standing up here, as soon as they get dived, you need to react instantly. But it is a good strategy, and at your rank, teams will not understand what you're doing. And there are a lot of Winston shenanigans that you can do on this map. You can hang out up here and drop on people from behind. You can get up here as Winston, and you can zap people as they pass through this area.
Oh yeah. Darn it.
If Widow gets up here, you can dive her. That's always nice to have. You want to make sure that your supports are okay. Line of sighting the Widow, though. That's what this thing is here for. You can back up here, and usually you want a Junkrat. Junkrat spamming into this right room is really strong if anyone comes in here, or even if they know that there's a Junkrat, and if they're trying to push through this room, Junkrat can stand on the bridge and spam into there. Junkrat can spam into here. Overall, Junkrat is just very strong on defense on this map. This is one of the few maps that Ana can be good on, although I don't think any of you guys want to run Ana anyway, but Ana can stand back here and have line of sight over anyone on their team.
Yeah, you can, if you really want to be a paranoid Zen, you can also run up here too, so. Wouldn't normally do it, but it's an option. Oh, come on, okay.
So, for attacking the second point, I think I like Rhine Diva on the second point personally, just because having the shield here can be helpful, especially if they have a Widow, and like if your Mercy's flying back and forth to heal people on each side of the point, you know, you don't want Mercy flying back and forth in open sightline of Widow. So, I don't know if Rex would agree with my call, but it's definitely fine for my rank and for your rank is to run Rhine and Diva. You definitely want to keep the Diva, because you still need a way to contest high ground. You need to contest that spot, up there if Widow gets up there. Widow can get up here. Junkrats can also get up here if there's an attacking Junkrat. Genjis can get up here, as you can see.
No.
And they can just fire at your team and build ult by being up there. So you want Diva to force them back. And one thing that Diva has to keep an eye on, too, is not necessarily chasing kills. Like, if you force them back so that they're not poking anymore, a lot of times that is enough, and you don't want to be going for the kill and putting yourself out of position. Because if you're back here and their entire team is right there, you're just feeding ult at that point. So, again, Junkrat is really strong on this point as well. Junkrat's just strong on this map in general. He can spam into this room and prevent them from coming this way. Even if they push main, he can still get a lot of value spamming down the choke. If they have a Sombra and they're trying to get control of this health pack, he can put a trap on it. He can keep an eye on it so that they can't get as much value out of the Sombra. Sombra is strong on this map too, by the way, both in attack and defense.
Yeah, we learned that.
Yeah.
Like, if your healer is having difficulty staying alive, your tanks can drop down here, get the health pack, and then get back to point pretty easily, but Sombra takes that away. So, if you're attacking, second point, and they have a Junkrat on defense, you never want to push through that room. It's on the right side from defender's perspective, it's on the left side from attacker's perspective. You never want to be in there when there's a Junkrat in there.
I always try to tell people in solo queue to not do it, and then they learn their lesson once they do it.
That still happens in Plat. I'm sorry to tell you. I'm hoping that once I get to Diamond it will go away. When I get to Diamond and find out, I will let you know.
Honestly, it's just safer to go over the left, or if you just really need to do it, go main, but never go right.
I agree.
Like, just going up this right here. Let's do it.
Okay, so this is not really relevant to map walkthroughs, but it is relevant to playing as a team, and I just remembered I was going to tell you. So, if you're standing somewhere, like if you're right here, you're about to attack second point, and you throw a Diva Bomb in there to clear off the point, follow it in. You follow it in, because even if it doesn't get any kills, like if the Rhine shields or Winston puts a bubble over it, the enemy team's going to be distracted by that. So while they're getting away from the Diva Bomb, they've likely put themselves in bad positions, and you can kill them, even if they don't die to the bomb. So what I see you guys do is, you're out here, you know, you're about to push in, you throw the Diva Bomb, and then you stand out here and wait to see if it gets a kill. Don't do that, follow it in.
It's a zoning ult. Basically.
Yes, exactly, it's a zoning tool. If it gets a kill, that's great, but what it's really meant for is to zone people.